Good morning, everyone. I thought today I would do a quick video, which never turns out to be quick, about how I put sashing on my blocks. And the first thing I need to say is I don't measure my blocks. I don't see how many inches wide, inches tall they are. I just check to make sure that they're all the same size. Because 9 times out of 10, if a 12.5-inch unfinished block finishes to 12 inches, um, that's great, but how often do you measure your blocks and find out that they're off by an eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch? In my case, I'm off by quite a bit. It's supposed to finish at 12.5, and yet my blocks finish at just about 12.25. I'm a half inch off, quarter inch off. I can't do math at 8:15 in the morning or 8:25 in the morning. But anyway, so I ignore what size they're supposed to finish at. And I have paper pieced my blocks so that when they're done, they will all finish to the same size. My quarter of an inch sewing may be the reason that they don't measure exactly the size they're supposed to, but I don't panic because I know they're all the same size. And that's all I need to know before I start putting sashing on my blocks. And since they don't measure to what they're supposed to measure, and if they're off by a 16th of an inch, eighth of an inch, I mean, try to figure that out on your ruler and where you're supposed to cut your sashing. So I ignore my ruler when I am putting sashing on, and I also ignore it when it comes to borders. But let me show you quickly what I do. So here I have my chevron star block, and I want to put sashing on either side. It's a 3-block table runner, so I only need 2 pieces of sashing, one on each side of this block. There's another block underneath because I was just measuring to make sure that they were the same size. What the finished size is, I'm not sure, and I actually don't care. I mean the unfinished size. So I have 2 blocks here, and they measure the same. And I never deal with the outer edges. I'm always looking for what is the center of the block, because when I put my sashing on, the outer portion of the block can ease into the sashing. I want to make sure the sashing is the same size as the width of the block. And this is square, so it doesn't matter which way I go. And all I'm going to do, a 2.5-inch strip for my sashing. And all I need to do is, I've taken my sashing, and it's going to be the same color as the background on the block, and I ironed it flat, just like that. And now I put the sashing on the cutting mat, making sure it's going straight across and it's not at some sort of bizarre angle. And then I take the block and lay the center of the block across the center of the strip, just like that. I'm going to pull this in to save some fabric. So what this is telling me is my sashing needs to be this wide, just like this. So instead of making myself crazy by measuring everything with a ruler, I just take my straight edge, cut that off. I could use my left hand, but that doesn't always go so well. And then, holding everything nice and flat, take my ruler over the other side and trim that off. And underneath, what I have are my 2 pieces of sashing, which measure the exact width of the center of the block. When I come up to one of the edges and I look to see how well that fits, I find that the sashing is actually a little bit longer. But in the process of sewing this, everything will come out nice and even with easing and a little bit of stretching. So I just want to make sure that my sashing is the same as the center width or center height of my block. And then I will sew them on and I'll be back. Okay, so I have my two sashing strips sewn to either side of what's going to be my center star. And now I'm going to join. And if you look at the length of the sashing, it's perfect. It's accurate. I don't use the word perfect anymore. I use the word accurate. It's very accurate on that side, and it's very accurate on this side. So let me sew these two blocks on, and then I'll show you how it looks once it's pressed and ready to go. Be back in a few. Okay, so I have my two sashing strips sewn in. I have a nice straight border here, nice straight edge here. I know that all of the measurements are correct because you can see there's no pulling, there's no puckering, and my edges have come out even along the top and bottom. And I will do the same thing when I go to put the border on. I will take an entire strip of fabric, and if I have to sew a couple together, I will, and just lay this table runner out flat on a larger surface than this with a bigger cutting mat, and then I'll take my strips and run them right down the center and then cut them off at each edge. And that way I know that my borders will be nice and even and the size I need them to be, and I don't have to stress about a ruler. And it comes out as accurately as it possibly can. And this is a preview of my holiday table runner using the scrappy chevron star pattern. And you'll be seeing more of this. It is going to be a class, but this is how it ends up. And I did no measuring for my borders and for my sashing, and I won't be doing any measuring for my borders either. And they come out just as accurate as I would like them to be. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and subscribe to my channel and subscribe to my website, quiltmavendave.com, and I'll see you again soon.